Now that we've created our class blueprint, we are going to create a constructor and in turn start building some instances. To build these cars, we need something to construct them. In Java, that's our constructor method. So we are going to go below these variables that we created, these properties, and we're going to write public car, because that's what we want to create, int input average MPG, string input license plate. And these are all of our inputs that we want to initialize our car with. And so these are going to be passed through when we construct an object. This will all make sense in a minute. But keeping with this, we'll go color, input paint color, and then Boolean, input our tail lights working. And then we'll hit enter here so it's a little bit easier to see. So here, car is the name of the function and will be what we create once the function has finished executing. Our inputs to the function are int input average MPG, a string input license plate, color input paint color, and Boolean input are the taillights working. The output to this function will be a newly created car. In order to create this car, we'll need to set the value of the new car's properties to these input values. So these are essentially initializing the car that we're going to output. We are going to write this.average miles per gallon. So we're initializing this car's average miles per gallon with the input average MPG that was inputted into this constructor. And so we're going to go this.license plate equals input license plate, and so on for the rest of these. Just initializing this car object with what is inputted into the constructor, aka the thing that's going to make our cars. Again, the this keyword is a reference to the new car we are creating, and by setting the value of these car properties to the input values, we are initializing this new car. Now that the new car properties are set, the constructor will automatically return this newly formed car with the right values in its properties or attributes. Let's go ahead and start creating cars back in our main file. So we're going to save this and go back to our main, and we're going to create some cars inside of this main class, inside of the main function, and this is the file that we're going to run that will ultimately create our cars. So think of this file as our body shop. This is where cars get created. The other car class was our blueprint, but this is where we're actually going to be making our cars, the instance of our cars, not just describing how we make a car. So to make our first car, to build our first car, we're going to write car, my car. My car is going to be the name of our car. Car here is our data type. My car is our variable name. And we're going to create a new car by going new car. So we're calling that constructor that we just made in our car class. And we're going to give it some input values that we want our car to have. And so we want our car to have 25.5 average MPG. We want the license plate number to be 1BC32E. And then we're going to keep going, adding these input values. We're going to want the color to be blue. And we are going to want the headlights to be working. So we're going to put that as true. And we're going to hit enter again so we can see this a little bit better. And then we'll add that semicolon. Now this my car variable will have the value of a new car created from the constructor with these given input values. Now you probably noticed there's an error, and this has an error because 25.5 is not an integer. And in our car class, if we go back, we defined average miles per gallon as an int, as well as the input to this constructor is an int as well. So we're getting a bunch of errors here. Let's go ahead and change these ints to doubles, and that will remove the error that we had before. And by doing this, we are saying, okay, average miles per gallon, that is going to have a decimal point with it. Going back to our main class, now we have no errors. Let's create another car instance, another car object. And to do that, we'll go car, Sally car. And this is going to be a new car. We'll go 13.9 average MPG. We're going to have the license plate number 3D20BN. And then we're going to have the color if it's going to be black. And then we're going to have false, and the taillights are not going to be working. Here we've created a new car variable called the Sally car. So Sally car is going to hold this new car that is outputted by this constructor. And we're using that same constructor, that same method, but we're giving it different input values. To see this at work, let's access each car's license plate and print it to the console. So we're going to go system.out.println and print these out. So we're going to go mycar.licenseplate to access that license plate property of the mycar object, the mycar variable. So let's go ahead and run this and see what it looks like in the console here. And so here we have the mycar's license plate. This is what it is, and that's what we put in for the constructor, and same with the Sally car license plate. Now, when we did mycar.licenseplate, sallycar.licenseplate, you can do this with any variable that object has. And so I could do sallycar dot, and what's really great about an IDE is that you'll see all these possible things you can access here, whether they're properties, which we see at the top, or methods, which we see at the bottom here. Now, when we do system.out.println, we're accessing a method that Java's already created for us. But let's try creating our own method within the car class. So going back to our car class here, we'll scroll down and we'll create another method inside of this class. Our constructor was its own method, but let's create one that actually interacts with the cars, like we mapped out in our blueprint from the first video of this chapter. So we'll write public void change paint color, and this is going to change the paint color of a car, and the input is going to be a new color that we want to paint the car. And then inside these curly brackets, that's what's going to be run by the program. And what we'll want to do is we'll want to change this car's paint color to the new paint color that we're giving it. Now let's break this down a little bit. This first line here, this is called the signature of the method, and it explains the basic components of the method. It says, okay, change paint color, that's the name of the method. We're going to have one parameter. The data type of that parameter is going to be a color, and the name of that parameter is going to be new paint color. We also know that this function's not going to return anything because it has the word void here, and instead it's just going to modify the car object with this one input, new paint color. So let's go ahead and call this from the main class and change the paint color of one of these car instances. So let's take the mycar here and go mycar.change paint color, and we're going to change it to the color red. And basically what's happening here is mycar is calling the change paint color function with the argument color.red. So here, when this function is called, the this keyword, this is going to evaluate to mycar because mycar is the one calling the change paint color function. And so when this is called, our parameter here, new paint color, that's going to have the value color.red. This is going to turn into mycar. That's what it's going to evaluate to. And so the mycar paint color is going to change into color.red. Back here in the main file, we're actually going to print out the paint color so we can see the difference of the before and after of this method. Running this. And the paint color has changed. In Java, colors are represented by RGB values. By changing the paint color from blue to red, we have changed blue from having the highest value to red having the highest value. This doesn't print as eloquently as our license plate number did because the color data type is not natively a string, which is the input for the println function. Instead, println is calling the toString function for our color, and that's how it's figuring out what to print in the console. So if we go toString here and then toString here, we're going to get the same thing in our console. So printing that. And there we go. Now, how is this all useful? Why are we creating cars in Java? Well, what if I wanted to create a race car game? I would need to keep track of different car instances, as well as what would make up these instances, which in this case might be current speed or its health. You could also create a car designer. This would involve you designing cars with different types of wheels, paint, decorations, and so forth. For this type of program, you would need to keep track of what cars a given user has created and what wheels, paint, decorations they each have. We used a car as an example, but you could create a class and instance of any object you can think of. All you have to do is design it and define it. In the next video, we'll talk more about Java as a language and all the different tools it has for you to create any program you want, including strings.